master this morning. But I must tell you, I don't feel that way. Because as a diplomat, my primary interest is in pursuing America's interests abroad. And the kind of mandate, the kind of momentum, the kind of enthusiasm, the kind of popularity that Barack Obama brings to America creates the kind of opportunity for embrace and partnership and collaboration and multilateral approach to our global problems that America's president has not seen, at least in my lifetime. And that's an exciting thing. For a diplomat, that's an exciting thing. Because the world is yearning for American leadership. Leadership to address the global financial crisis, to work as a partner with our European allies to ensure continued economic progress. Leadership to fight the continuing war against terror, to ensure that Afghanistan and Pakistan don't remain as havens for extremists. Leadership to pursue opportunities for stability and democracy and peace in the Middle East between Palestinians and Jews, between Shia and Sunnis, between India and Pakistan. Leadership to confront the threat of growing nuclear ambitions of Iran and North Korea. Leadership to fulfill the aspirations of millions of people in the Balkans, Ukraine and Georgia who aspire for greater EU and NATO integration and want to belong to the world of civilized democracies. Leadership to bring an end to despair and desolation and poverty and corruption and intolerance in Africa. Leadership to resist the calls for protectionism and to make the world, including Americans, understand that our future global prosperity lies in tearing down trade walls, not building them up. Leadership to stimulate the will to convert our economies to less dependence on imported and foreign and carbon-producing energy sources, to embrace alternative energies, and finally, leadership to ensure that the world comes to Copenhagen in the winter of 2009 to sign a global agreement that will ensure both abundant clean energy and environmental security for future generations. I am confident that President-elect Obama, beginning on the 21st of January, will rise to the challenge and present the world with the leadership from America that it so rightfully and longingly seeks. Americans, you see, are clearly ready for change. America is a nation of hope. We like to be hopeful and inspired. We love America as a land of opportunity. Americans like the idea of America being the land of dreams. In fact, as I traveled 2,500 kilometers on my bicycle around Denmark, that resonates with Danes. They like America as a land of opportunity. And for the last several years, Americans have not felt hopeful and opportunistic. And it's unfortunate. And in large part, it's because of the hands of fate that was dealt the current administration. The bursting of the IT bubble, the 9/11 crisis and the aftermath, the horrible pictures from Guantanamo and Abu Ghraib, the $4 a gallon gasoline, the financial crisis, the catastrophe of Hurricane Katrina and its aftermath. America has been afraid. America has been upset. America has been frightened. Barack Obama comes into office with an amazing opportunity to bring hope and change to America. In spite of a man in the White House who I think is a good man and has been well motivated, Barack Obama has a chance to bring change and hope to America, unlike any in recent generations. And that's an exciting thing for America. While I cannot speculate on the priorities of an Obama presidency, there is one thing of which I am certain, though, and that is the continuing close relationship between America and the Kingdom of Denmark. Our relationship is close not because of the friendship of our leaders, but because of the common vision we share of how our world should look and how our world should work. The right to live free, the expectation of opportunity for all, the embrace of equal rights and humane compassion toward our fellow man, the transparency and predictability of our laws and public process, and the right to live secure in our homes and confident in our future and our children's future. Denmark's relationship with America is, I would assert, as unique as it is critical in today's world. To adequately describe the uniqueness of our relationship and this critical importance, permit me to quote from Chapter 9 of my forthcoming book, which is available on shelves everywhere Thursday of next week. Nothing like shameless American promotion, is there? Chapter 9 is entitled Denmark's Role in the World. And here's what it says. You signed on early to join the coalition fighting in Afghanistan following the call to arms of 9/11. Then in 2003, Denmark signed on early to join Operation Iraqi Freedom. Thankfully, your presence in Iraq has been able to be reduced, yet you maintain almost 900 fighters in Afghanistan. You also have 312 soldiers serving with the NATO forces in Kosovo. Altogether, you have 1,188 soldiers deployed in hotspots overseas, fighting without caveats, without conditions. On a per capita basis, this makes Denmark the largest contributor to international security operations of any country in the world. Let me repeat that, any country in the world. In addition to your aggressive engagement on the ground in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Kosovo, you volunteered to command the NATO response force. You're working with us to end piracy off the coast of Africa. You're transforming your military into an effective 21st century expeditionary force, and you're supporting the establishment of a missile defense infrastructure capable of protecting America and Europe. On the diplomatic front, you have long been centrally engaged in the Middle East peace process. You support strong sanctions against Iran's nuclear ambitions. You call for aggressive international intervention to stop genocide in Darfur, and you were one of the first to recognize Kosovo upon its declaration of independence. You support the expansion of NATO, have voted in favor of the people of the Western Balkans who desire membership, and you give encouragement to those in Georgia and Ukraine who aspire to belong. When Russia invaded Georgia in August, you were one of the first in Europe to condemn the Cold War-like Russian aggression, and you have consistently insisted on holding Russia to account. Many of our European allies do not agree with you on these positions and have not adopted your Danish model. Yet in the halls of NATO, the corridors of the EU, and the towers of the UN in New York, you have stood strong in recent years as a voice for intervention to protect those in need, a voice for freedom where it is not present, and a voice for security against those who threaten it. Denmark, at this particular moment in history, is playing a critical role on the world stage. End quote. While our close relationship is not dependent on the relationship of our leaders, allow me to acknowledge and thank you, Mr. Prime Minister, for the close relationship you've had with our President. It is said that nothing signifies the regard one country has for another than the way in which their heads of state treat each other. President Bush was warmly welcomed here in Copenhagen in July of 2005. He celebrated his 59th birthday with the Queen and her family, and the Prime Minister and the Cabinet. In June of 2006, the Prime Minister and his wife were invited by President and Mrs. Bush to Camp David, the ultra-private retreat of America's presidents. Prime Minister Rasmussen's invitation was the first head of state visit to Camp David in 2 years. Then a little less than 2 years after that, in March of 2008, the Prime Minister and his wife were invited to Crawford, Texas, the private home of the President. Invitations to the private home of the President are rare things indeed. It will remain a highlight of my diplomatic career to have been present with you, Prime Minister, at both Camp David and Crawford. Most American ambassadors, you see, never get a chance to go to either place. To get to both is an honor almost beyond compare. I'll always remember President Bush's words to you of thanks, Prime Minister, at Camp David when he noted Denmark's bold refusal to not back away from the world stage in the aftermath of the Khartoum crisis. Denmark's decision to double the troops in Afghanistan and extend your Iraq commitment was the kind of signal Europe needed at that time, the President said. Denmark has clearly earned a special place at the table of global leadership. I am confident that such a close relationship will be carried into the Obama administration. You know the President-elect, and the President-elect knows Denmark, and he knows our special relationship. I'm honored, Prime Minister, that you're here with us this morning. I'm pleased to offer you the podium. I thank you for your friendship with America. Prime Minister and the President.
warm welcome. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to be here today and celebrate with you the historic elections in the world's greatest democracy, the United States. And first of all, I would like to congratulate President-elect Barack Obama on his victory. Mr. Obama, you have run a magnificent campaign to demonstrate true political leadership. Your victory is a great achievement and an embodiment of the American dream, the dream that even the highest post in society is open for everybody who has the wish, the will, and the ability. I look very much forward to cooperating with you on advanced urgent challenges: the fight against terrorism, the mission of climate change, the development of new economic growth based on free trade, and to that end we need a strong transatlantic relationship. Ladies and gentlemen, the relationship between the United States and Denmark is based on shared common values and interests. We share common values like political, economic freedom, human rights, the rule of law, democracy. And we share common interests to promote freedom, peace, and prosperity. Dear American friends, I congratulate you on the successful elections in America. I have enjoyed the close relationship with President Bush. I feel confident that we can continue the close relationship between the political leaders of Denmark and the United States. And I look very much forward to further developing the strong bonds between the United States and Denmark. Thank you very much.
Prime Minister, this occasion is, as you might expect, a little bittersweet for Helen and me, because in a way it marks our beginning of our end here in Denmark. It's been an extraordinary 3.5 years, and this is not our goodbye. We'll save that for later. But allow me to thank all of you who've been such friends and supporters for us during our time here. The opportunity we had at the suggestion of my